So today, we're diving into a story that you probably haven't heard. It's something that's happening right now, behind closed doors, in homes, and classrooms all across Zimbabwe. We're going to take a look at the deeply misunderstood world of autism, but specifically how it's seen through a very unique cultural lens.
Wow. I mean, this quote from a mother, it just gets right to the very heart of the problem, doesn't it? You can feel the struggle right there in her words. It's this intense conflict between what everyone in the community believes, these deep-seated ideas, and what a parent just knows in their gut. It's a fight between an ancient story about spirits and a new scientific understanding that's just starting to break through. And that's really what we're talking about here, an untold story. I mean, think about it. Right now, as we speak, there are kids in homes and schools who are being completely misunderstood. It's not their character being judged, it's their neurology being misinterpreted. People see their actions as defiance or being difficult. But in reality, it's just a different way of experiencing the world.
And in Zimbabwe, this is where it gets really complicated. The culture itself kind of becomes the diagnosis. You see, before a family even thinks about going to a doctor, the very first explanation for a child who acts differently is almost always spiritual. So this isn't about medicine, not at first. It's about finding meaning. But that first step can lead down a path of confusion, major delays in getting help, and just this deep, deep sense of being alone.
Okay, so this slide just lays it out so clearly. It's like two different worlds colliding. On the left, you've got these deeply ingrained cultural beliefs. You have terms like ongozi, an avenging spirit, or omoya omubi, an evil spirit. These words frame a child's behavior as a spiritual problem. But then on the right, you have what science actually shows us. It's a neurological difference. It's about coping with sensory overload. It's a completely different way of communicating. Total disconnect.
And you can just feel the desperation in this parent's voice. Just imagine, you're searching, you're desperate for answers for your child. So you go to the people you trust most, your church leaders. They tell you to bring salt, to bring oil, to do these rituals. You do it all, but nothing changes. It's this path that starts with so much hope, but so often it just ends in heartbreak and frustration.
All right, so let's just stop for a second and get this crystal clear. We need to tear down these myths one by one. So, number one, autism is not madness. It's not a mental illness.
And just as important, especially given what we've just talked about, it is not witchcraft. It has absolutely nothing to do with evil spirits or curses or anything like that. So, okay, if it's not those things, what is it? Well, the official term is autism spectrum disorder. But let's break that down. Really, it's just a difference in how the brain is wired. That's it. It affects how a person takes in information, how they communicate, how they connect with other people. It's not about being broken. It's about having a different operating system, a different way of being in the world. And the reason they call it a spectrum is because the signs can look so different from person to person. You might have someone who doesn't speak at all. Or you could have someone who can talk for hours and hours about their one favorite subject. You might see things like hand flapping or walking on tiptoes, which, by the way, are often just ways to calm themselves down. And for so many, having a super strict routine is everything. It's what makes a chaotic world feel safe and predictable. But here's the thing. When people don't understand these signs, the human cost is just huge. Stigma isn't just about hurt feelings. No, it's way more than that. It actively harms lives. It creates this hidden population of kids and their families basically cut off from the rest of the world. You know, a classroom is supposed to be a safe place, a place to learn. But if teachers aren't trained to recognize autism, it can turn into the exact opposite, a place of punishment. Kids on the spectrum get hit with all these labels. They get called stubborn when they're actually just completely overwhelmed. They get called slow when they're really just processing things in their own way. This quote from a teacher, man, it's powerful. It really shows you that even teachers who mean well, who really care, can end up punishing a child for how their brain works, simply because they don't have the right information. And it's this tragic cycle, you know? The teacher feels like a failure, the student feels punished for who they are, everyone loses. And the real-world consequences of this, they're devastating. Get this. A UNICEF report revealed that hundreds of children with developmental conditions in Zimbabwe have never, not once, set foot in a school. Hundreds. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's hundreds of brilliant minds, hundreds of potential futures, just lost. All because of stigma. And if you want to know what that number actually looks like, here it is. This is the human story behind the statistic. A mother hearing people laugh at her child, feeling so much shame that she feels she has no other choice but to pull him out of school and just stay home. That shame, it becomes a prison. It locks the whole family away from everyone.
Okay, but this story is not all darkness. It's not just about the problem. It's also about the solution. Because even in the middle of all this confusion and stigma, there are these amazing pockets of hope. There are people on the ground doing the hard work, forging a brand new path for these kids and their families.
And one of those bright lights, one of those beacons of hope, is a small school in Harare. It's called the Pathways Autism Trust. And believe me, this place is so much more than just a school. It's a place where a child's potential that has been buried under layers of misunderstanding, is finally being set free. So you're probably wondering, what's their secret? How do they do it? Well, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's all about their methods. They create that structure that kids with autism so often crave. Things like predictable daily routines, using visual charts to make communication easier, and the most important ingredient of all, just a whole lot of patience and genuine understanding. And this right here, this is the result. This quote from a mom just says it all, doesn't it? The same child who was once labeled stubborn is now seen by everyone as gifted. And that's the magic right there. That's what happens when you stop trying to change the kid, and instead you change the environment around them. So when you boil it all down, this is a story that's still being written. It's a story about an entire society slowly, piece by piece, learning to understand a language that, for the longest time, they didn't even know was being spoken. And really, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Autism is not a curse. It's not a defect. It's a different language. And once you see it that way, everything changes. The goal isn't to fix someone who isn't broken. The goal is just to learn how to listen and understand. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. What happens when a whole nation starts to learn this new language? What happens when understanding takes the place of stigma? When connection pushes out isolation? Well, the potential that gets unlocked isn't just for a few kids in one small school. No, it's unlocked for the entire country.